Okay, good morning, good morning. I think I can turn this way, actually. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Right, let's see who we have this morning. I'm just going to grab my pens and grab something else. Okay. No. Right, I am here. I was just grabbing something. Just ready for my run after we do our class. Okay, let's see who we have this morning. Good morning, Fergus. Good morning, Martha and Patrick. Good morning, Jack and Ava. Good morning, Leon. Good morning, James and William. Good morning, Noemi. It is so hot today. It is hot. It was very warm yesterday, actually. Good morning, Fatima. Good morning, superstars. Let's see who else we have this morning. We've nearly got most of our usual viewers. Oh my gosh. Having a bit of a crazy morning this morning. Good morning, Isabel. Good morning, Eleanor. Hello, Summer. I love that, James. Good morning, Saskia. Guys, you're all here. Good morning, Anthony. Good morning, Isabella. Nice to see you all watching. I just wanted to start off by saying a big thank you to all the children who were in school yesterday, just for a super day. We had such a lovely day. We had so much fun, and it was fantastic. So I just wanted to give my gratitude to you and say thank you for making sure that I had a good day. And I miss you guys already. I just want to be back in school. I'm sure lots of us are feeling like that. So fingers crossed that all of this is, over soon and we're back in school together. Good morning, Charlotte. Who else have we got this morning? Good morning, Tamsin. So I actually had a short sleeve top on, but it looks a bit, I felt like it looked a bit weird for YouTube, so I've put this long sleeve jumper on. But I have got, yes, I will be running outside, but I will not be running in this jumper because it is very warm today. So make sure if you are out today, you are wearing sun cream and you are staying safe, okay? Yeah. Remember to drink lots of water, because when you're hot and sweaty, you lose lots of water. I don't want any of you to become dehydrated. Right, so can I just start by saying how amazing was Miss Lockney yesterday? She was a superstar. For those of you watching who are not from my school, Miss Lockney is one of the teachers from our school, and she's also one of my best friends. And she was just fantastic, and I feel very lucky to have such super friends who will even do my YouTube channel. Whoa, that's how far our friendship has come. Her reading was super, and I could see that lots of people were engaging with her, so that was really fantastic. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to Miss Lockney for yesterday. Good morning, Max. Nice to see you watching. And yes, it is. Good morning, Athena. Yes, it is Friday. Not just any Friday. Every Friday is Fun Friday. Good morning, Louis. Louis, nice to see you watching. So we didn't really dress up today, but maybe next week we'll think of something to do. Friday. I love it. I'm sure you can maybe go sit on your doorstep, maybe, Fatima, and get some sun. Okay, so let's go for our poem for today. The Blind Dog by Rose Farman. My kindly human sighs for me, but with my clever nose I see the perfumed path of a lady dog, the fishy trail of a passing frog, the sharp clear stink of a scavenging fox, the tempting scent of a cardboard box, the glorious odours of dustbin day, the tang of a lamppost in my way, the feathery whiff of a broken bird, the traces of ice cream softly blurred, the insults left by an old tomcat, the slimy tracks of a sewer rat, the homely smell of our garden gate, the call of the gravy on my plate. My kindly human sighs for me, but with my clever nose I can see. And actually that was by Claire Bevan, not the other one I said. That was The Blind Dog. Ah, that's lovely. So it's nice to know that even though they can't see, they can kind of see through smell. That's very interesting, isn't it? Ah, some of you have watched Wonder, the movie. Oh, Fatima, that's good. You've got a balcony. That's lucky. Good morning, Harry. Nice to see you watching, Harry. Good morning, Frankie, if you're watching. Good morning, Casey, if you're watching. Casey's not from our school, but she often watches with us. And maybe Sahara will watch later. So many lovely children. Good morning, Anthony. Okay, so yesterday, where did we leave? Where did we finish off yesterday? Where did Miss Lockney finish off yesterday? Can anyone remember what had happened to August? Have a quick babble gabble. Good morning, Camille. 1 minute to babble gabble what happened yesterday. 1 minute. Babble gabble is to quickly tell the person next to you, or even just tell the wall if you don't have someone next to you. A quick summary of what's happened so far. Go. You don't need to type it, you just need to say it. Okay, fantastic. So we are now at the point where it is his first day of school. And I now have my own copy of the book, so I can do lots of notes in it because I wasn't allowed to write in Miss Lockney's book. But I'm very grateful that she lent it to me in the first place. First day jitters. Okay, so I admit that the first day of school, I was so nervous that the butterflies in my stomach were more like pigeons flying around my insides. Mum and Dad were probably a little nervous too, but they acted all excited for me. Taking pictures of me and Via before we left the house, since it was Via's first day of school too. Up until a few days before, we still weren't sure I would be going to school at all. After my tour of the school, Mum and Dad had reversed sides on whether I should go or not. Mum was the one saying I shouldn't go, and Dad was saying I should. Dad had told me he was really proud of how I had handled myself with Julian, and that I was turning into quite the strong man. And I'd heard him tell Mum that he now thought she had been right all along. But Mum, I could tell, wasn't so sure anymore. When Dad told her that he and Via wanted to walk me to school today, too, since it was on the way to the subway station, Mum really seemed relieved that we would all be going together, and I guess I was too. Even though Beecher Prep is just a few blocks from our house, I've only been on that block a couple of times before. In general, I try to avoid blocks where there are lots of kids roaming around. On our block, everybody knows me, and I know everybody. I know every brick and every tree trunk and every crack in the sidewalk. I know Mrs. Grimaldi, the lady who always sits by her window, and the old guy who walks up and down the street whistling like a bird. I know the deli on the corner where Mum gets our bagels, and the waitress at the coffee shop who always calls me honey and gives me lollipops who always call me honey and give me lollipops whenever they see me. I love my neighbourhood road of North River Heights, which is why it's so strange to be walking down these blocks feeling like it was all new to me suddenly. Amesfort Avenue, a street I've been down a million times, looked totally different for some reason, full of people I never saw before, waiting for buses, pushing strollers. We crossed Amesfort and turned up Heights Place. Via walked next to me, like she usually does, and Mum and Dad were just behind us. As soon as we turned the corner, we saw all the kids in the front of the school, hundreds of them talking to each other in little groups, laughing or standing with their parents, who were talking with other parents. I kept my head down. Everyone's just as nervous as you are, said Via in my ear. Just remember that this is everybody's first day of school, okay? Mr. Tishman was greeting students and parents in front of the school entrance. I have to admit, so far, nothing bad had happened. I didn't catch anyone staring or even noticing me. Only once did I look up and see girls looking my way and whispering with their hands cupped over their mouths, but they looked away when they saw me notice them. We reached the front entrance. Okay, so this is it, big boy, said Dad, putting his hands on top of my shoulders. Have a great first day. I love you, said Via, giving me a big kiss and a hug. You too, I said. I love you, Augie, said Dad, hugging me. Bye. Then Mum hugged me, but I could tell she was about to cry, which would have totally embarrassed me, so I gave her a fast, hard hug, turned and disappeared into school. Locks. I went straight to room 301 on the 3rd floor. Now I was glad. I'll just turn this down a bit. Now I was glad I'd gone on that little tour because I knew exactly where to go and didn't have to look up once. I noticed that some kids were definitely staring at me now. I did my thing of pretending not to notice. I went inside the classroom and the teacher was writing on the chalkboard while all the kids were sitting at different desks. The desks were in half circles facing the chalkboard, so I chose a desk in the middle towards the back, which I thought would make it harder for anyone to stare at me. I still kept my head down and was just looking up enough from under my bangs to see everyone's feet. As the desk started to fill up, I did notice that no one sat next to me. A couple of times before someone was about to sit next to me, then changed his or her mind and at the last minute sat somewhere else. Hey, August, it was Charlotte giving me her little wave as she sat down at her desk at the front of the class. Why anyone would ever choose to sit way up in the front, I don't know. Hey, I said, nodding hello. Then I noticed Julia was sitting a few seats away from her, talking to some other kid. I know he saw me, but he didn't say hello. Suddenly, someone was sitting down next to me. It was Jack Will. Jack. What's up, he said, nodding at me. Hey, Jack, I answered, waving my hand, which I immediately wished I hadn't done because it felt so uncool. Okay, kids. Okay, everybody, settle down, said the teacher, now facing us. She had written her name, Miss Patosa, on the chalkboard. Sorry. Everybody find a seat, please. Come in, she said to a couple of kids who had just walked into the room. There's a seat there and right there. She hadn't noticed me yet. Now, the first thing I want everybody to do is stop talking and, she noticed me, put your backpacks down and quiet down. She'd only hesitated for a millionth of a second, but I could tell that she saw me. Like I said, I'm used to it by now. I'm going to take attendance and do the seating chart, she continued, sitting on the edge of her desk. Next to her were 3 neat rows of accordion folders. When I call your name, come up and I'll hand you a folder with your name on it. It contains your class schedule and your combination lock, which you should not try to open until I tell you. Your locker number is written on the class schedule. Be forewarned that some lockers are not right outside the class, but down the hall. And before anyone thinks of asking, no, you cannot switch lockers and you can't switch locks. Then, if there's time at the end of this period, we're all going to get to know each other a little better, okay? Okay? She picked up the clipboard on her desk and started reading the names out loud. Okay, so Julian Albans, she said, looking up. Julian raised his hand and said, here, at the same time. Hi, Julian, she said, making a note on her seating chart. She picked up the very first folder and held it out towards him. Come pick it up, she said, kind of no nonsense. He got up and took it from her. I wonder how you say this name. Zimena Chin. She handed a folder to each child as she read off the names. As she went down the list, I noticed that The seat next to me was the only one still empty, even though there were 2 kids sitting at one desk just a few seats away. When she called the name of one of them, a big kid named Henry Joplin, who already looked like a teenager, she said, "Henry, there's an empty desk right over there. Why don't you take that seat, okay?" She handed him his folder and pointed to the desk next to mine. Although I didn't look at him directly, I could tell Henry did not want to move next to me, just by the way he dragged his backpack on the floor as he came over, like he was moving in slow motion. Then he plopped his handbag up really high on the right side of the desk, so it was kind of like a wall between his desk and mine. "Maya Makowitz," Miss Petosa was saying. "Here," said a girl about 4 desks down from me. "Miles Norrie, here," said the kid that had been sitting with Henry Joplin. As he walked back to his desk, I saw him shoot Henry a poor you look. "August Pullman," said Miss Petosa. "Here," I said, quietly, raising my hand a bit. "Hi, August," she said, smiling at me very nicely when I went up to get my folder. I kind of felt everybody's eyes burning into my back for a few seconds. For the few seconds I stood in front of the class, and everybody looked down when I walked back to my desk. I resisted spinning the combination when I sat down, even though everyone else was doing it, because she had specifically told us not to. I was already pretty good at opening locks anyway, because I used to have them on my bike. Henry kept trying to open his lock, but couldn't do it. He was getting frustrated and kind of cursing under his breath. "Good morning, Miss Lockney." Miss Petosa called out the next few names. The last name was Jackville. After she handed Jack his folder, she said, "Okay, so everybody write your combination down somewhere safe so you won't forget, okay? But if you do forget, which happens at least 3.2 times per semester, Mrs. Garcia has a list of all the combination numbers. Now go ahead, take your locks out of your folders and spend a couple of minutes practicing how to open them. Though I know some of you went ahead and did that anyway." She was looking at Henry when she said that. "And in the meanwhile, I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself, and then you guys can tell me about yourselves, and get to know each other. Sound good?" "Good." She smiled at everyone, though I felt like she was smiling at me the most. It wasn't a shiny smile like Mrs. Garcia's smile, but a normal smile, like she meant it. She looked very different from what I thought teachers were going to look like. I guess I thought she'd look like Miss Fowl from Jimmy Neutron, an old teacher with a big bun on her head. But in fact, she looked exactly like Mon Mothma from Star Wars Episode 4. Haircut kind of like a boy's, and a big white shirt kind of like a tunic. She turned around and started writing on the chalkboard. Henry still couldn't get his lock to open, and he was getting more and more frustrated every time someone else popped one open. He got really annoyed when I was able to open mine at the first try. The funny thing is, if he hadn't put the backpack between us, I most definitely would have offered to help him. Around the room, Miss Petosa told us a little bit about who she was. It was boring stuff about where she originally came from and how she always wanted to teach, and she left her job on Wall Street about 6 years ago to pursue her dream and teach kids. She ended by asking if anyone had any questions, and Julian raised his hand. Yes, she had to look at the list to remember his name. "Julian, that's cool about how you're pursuing your dream," he said. "Thank you. You're welcome," he smiled proudly. "Okay, so why don't you tell us a bit about yourself then, Julian? Actually, here's what I want everyone to do. Think of 2 things you want other people to know about you. Actually, wait a minute. How many of you came from the Beecher Lower School?" About half the kids raised their hands. Okay, so a few of you already know each other, but the rest of you, I guess, are new to the school, right? Okay, so everyone think of 2 things you want other people to know about you. And if you know some of the other kids, try to think of things they don't know already about you. Okay? Okay. So let's start with Julian, and we'll go around the room. Julian scrunched up his face and started tapping his forehead like he was thinking really hard. I really am not fond of Julian at the moment. I wouldn't say I hate Julian. I think that's quite a strong word, but I'm not fond of him at the moment. Okay, you know why? Because he's really fake. I don't like that he pretends to be one person in front of the teachers and then another person in front of the children. I always say, if you're in my school, you know, I say it's just better to be real. I like to see who you really are, whether sometimes it's not perfect, but I like to see the real you. By the way, I don't know if anyone's noticed our new friend behind me, Matilda. I brought her from school yesterday. Around the room, That's where we were. Okay, whenever you're ready, Miss Potosa said. Okay, so number 1 is that do me a favour and start with your names, okay? Miss Potosa interrupted. It'll help me remember everyone. Okay, so my name is Julian, and my number 1 thing I'd like to tell you about myself is that I just got Battleground Mystic for my Wii, and it's totally awesome. And the number 2 thing is that we got a ping pong table this summer. Very nice. I love ping pong, said Miss Potosa. Does anybody have any questions for Julian? Is Battleground Mystic multiplayer or one player, said the kid named Miles. Not those kind of questions, guys, said Miss Potosa. Okay, so how about you? She pointed to Charlotte, probably because her desk was closest to the front. Oh, sure. Charlotte didn't hesitate for a second. Like she knew exactly what she wanted to say. My name is Charlotte. I have 2 sisters, and we just got a new puppy named Zuki in July. We got her from an animal shelter, and she's so cute. That's great, Charlotte. Thank you, said Miss Potosa. Okay, then, who's next? Lamb to the slaughter. Why does that look very funny on my book? Lamb to the slaughter. Like a lamb to the slaughter, something that you say about someone who goes somewhere calmly, not knowing that something unpleasant is going to happen to them. I Googled it last night. That's what I was thinking when Miss Potosa called my name, and suddenly it was my turn to talk. My name is August, I said, and yeah, I kind of mumbled it. What? Said someone. Can you speak up, honey? Said Miss Potosa. My name is August, I said louder, forcing myself to look up. I have a sister called Via and a dog named Daisy, and that's it. Wonderful, said Miss Potosa. Anyone have any questions for August? No one said anything. Okay, you're next, said Miss Potosa to Jack. Wait, I have a question for August, said Julian, raising his hand. Why do you have like a tiny braid in the back of your hair? Is that like a Padawan thing? Yeah, I shrugged, nodded. What's a Padawan thing? Said Miss Potosa, smiling at me. It's from Star Wars, answered Julian. A Padawan is a Jedi apprentice. Oh, interesting, answered Miss Potosa, looking at me. So, are you into Star Wars, August? I guess, I nodded, not looking up because what I really wanted was to just slide under the desk. Who's your favourite character? Julian asked. I started thinking maybe he wasn't so bad. Jango Fett. What about Darth Sidious? He said. Do you like him? Okay, guys, you can talk about Star Wars stuff at recess, said Miss Potosa cheerfully. But let's keep going. We haven't heard from you yet, she said to Jack. Now it was Jack's turn to talk. But I admit I didn't hear a word he said. Maybe no one got the Darth Sidious thing, and maybe Julian didn't mean it at all. But in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of Sith, Darth Sidious' face gets burned by Sith lightning and becomes totally deformed. His skin gets all shriveled up and his whole face just kind of melts. I peeked at Julian and he was looking at me. Yeah, he knew what he was saying. My gosh, he's so horrible. What did? Yeah, I like Charlotte. I like Jack, and I like Charlotte. Choose kind. There was a lot of shuffling around when the bell rang, and everybody got up to leave. I checked my schedule, and it said my next class was English, room 321. I didn't stop to see if anyone else from homeroom was going my way. I just zoomed out of the class and down the hall and sat down as far from the front as possible. The teacher, a really tall man with a yellow beard, was writing on the chalkboard. Kids came in laughing and talking in little groups, but I didn't look up. Basically, the same thing that happened in homeroom happened again. No one sat next to me except for Jack, who was joking around with some kids who weren't in our homeroom. I could tell Jack was the kind of kid other kids like. He had a lot of friends. He made people laugh. When the second bell rang, everyone got quiet and the teacher turned around and faced us. He said his name was Mr. Brown, and then he started talking about what we would be doing this semester. At a certain point, somewhere between A Wrinkle in Time and Shen of the Sea, he noticed me but kept right on talking. I was mostly doodling in my notebook while he talked, but every once in a while I would sneak a look at the other students. Charlotte was in this class. Oh gosh, Julian again. So were Julian and Henry. Miles wasn't. Mr. Brown had written on the chalkboard in big block letters, PRECEPT. Precept. Okay, everybody write this down at the top of the very first page in your English notebook. trying to catch up with the chat. As we did what he told us to, he said, okay, so who can tell me what a precept is? Does anybody know? No one raised their hand. Mr. Brown smiled, nodded, and turned around to write on the chalkboard again. Precepts, rules about really important things. Like a motto, someone called out. Like a motto, someone called out. Like a motto, said Mr. Brown, nodding as he continued writing on the board. Like a famous quote, like a line from a fortune cookie. Any saying or ground rule that can motivate you. Basically, a precept is anything that helps guide us when making decisions about really important things. He wrote all that on the chalkboard and then turned around and faced us. So, what are some really important things, he asked us. A few kids raised their hands, and as he pointed at them, they gave their answers, which he wrote on the chalkboard in really, really sloppy handwriting. Rules, schoolwork, homework. What else, he said, as he wrote, not even turning around. Just call things out. He wrote everything everyone called out. Family, parents, pets. One girl called out the environment. The environment, he wrote on the chalkboard, and added our world. Sharks, because they eat dead things in the ocean, said one of the boys, a kid named Reed, and Mr. Brown wrote that down. Sharks. Bees, seatbelts, recycling, friends. Okay, said Mr. Brown, writing all these things down. He turned around and when he finished writing to face us again. But no one's named the most important things of all. We all looked at him out of ideas. God, said one kid, and I could tell that even though Mr. Brown wrote God down, that wasn't the answer he was looking for. Without saying anything else, he wrote down who we are. Who we are, he said, underlining each word as he said it. Who we are, us, right. What kind of people are we? What kind of person are you? Isn't that the most important thing of all? Isn't that the kind of question we should be asking ourselves all the time? What kind of person am I? Did anyone happen to notice the plaque next to the door of this school? Anybody read what it says? Anyone? He looked around, but no one knew the answer. It says, know thyself, he said, smiling and nodding. And learning who you are is what you're here to do. I thought we were here to learn English, Jack cracked, which made everyone laugh. Oh yeah, and that too, Mr. Brown answered, which I thought was very cool of him. He turned around and wrote in huge block letters that spread all the way across the chalkboard, Mr. Brown's September Precept. I love Mr. Brown, I like him. When given the choice between being right or being kind, choose kind. I like it. Okay, so everybody, he said, facing us again. I want you to start a brand new section. Oh, look at the time. How many more pages have we got? I'm gonna carry on because I want to get through this. Put today's date at the top of the page, and from now on, at the beginning of every month, I'm going to write a new Mr. Brown's precept on the chalkboard, and you're going to write it down in your notebook. Then we're going to discuss the precept and what it means. And at the end of the month, you're going to write an essay about it, about what it means to you. So by the end of the year, you'll have all your own list of precepts to take away with you. Over the summer, I ask all my students to come up with their very own personal precept, write it on a postcard and mail it to me wherever you go on summer vacation. People really do that, said one girl whose name I didn't know. Oh yeah, he answered, people really do that. I've had students send me a new precept years after they graduated from school, actually. It's pretty amazing. He paused and stroked his beard. But anyway, next summer seems like a long way off. I know, he joked, which made us laugh. So everybody relax a bit while I take attendance. And then when we're finished with that, I'll start telling you about the fun stuff we're going to be doing this year in English. He pointed to Jack when he said this, which was also funny, so we all laughed at that. As I wrote down Mr. Brown's September precept, I suddenly realised I was going to like school, no matter what. Lunch. Via had warned me about lunch in middle school, so I guess I should have known it would be hard. I just hadn't expected it to be this hard. Basically, all the kids from the 5th grade classes poured into the cafeteria at the same time, talking loudly and bumping into one another while they ran to different tables. One of the lunchroom teachers said something about no seat saving allowed, but I didn't know what she meant, and maybe no one else did either, because just about everybody was saving seats for their friends. I tried to sit down at the table, but the kid in the next chair said, "Oh, sorry, but somebody else is sitting here." So I moved to an empty table and just waited for everyone to finish stampeding and the lunchroom teacher to tell us what to do next. As she started telling us the cafeteria rules, I looked around to see where Jack Will was sitting, but I didn't see him on my side of the room. Kids were still coming in as the teachers started calling the first few tables to get their trays and stand in line at the counter. Julian, Henry, and Miles were sitting at the table toward the back of the room. Mum had packed me a cheese sandwich, graham crackers, and a juice box, so I didn't need to stand in line when my table was called. Instead, I just concentrated on opening my backpack, pulling out my lunch bag, and slowly opening the aluminium foil wrapping of my sandwich. I could tell I was being stared at without even looking up. I knew that people were nudging each other, watching me out of the corners of their eyes. I thought I was used to those kind of stares by now, but I guess I wasn't. There was one table of girls I knew were whispering about me because they were talking behind their hands. Their eyes and whispers kept bouncing over me. I hate the way I eat. I know how weird it looks. I had a surgery to fix my cleft palate when I was a baby, and then a second cleft surgery when I was 4. But I still have a hole in the roof of my mouth. And even though I had a jaw aligning surgery a few years ago, I had to chew in the front of my mouth. I didn't even realize how this looked until it was my birthday once, and one of the kids told the mum of the birthday boy he didn't want to sit next to me because I was too messy with all the food crumbs shooting out of my mouth. I know the kid wasn't trying to be mean, but he got in big trouble later, and his mum called my mum that night to apologize. When I got home from that party, I went to the bathroom mirror and started eating a saltine cracker to see what it looked like when I was chewing. The kid was right. I eat like a tortoise. If you've ever seen a tortoise eating, like some prehistoric swamp thing. Okay, so before you go, if you have to go, just quickly, your task for today and this weekend is to write a diary entry as if you are August about your first day at school. So before you go, write a diary entry as if you are August about your first day at school, okay? And guys, next time, I don't think it's very nice to say that we're running out of time because we're enjoying the book. But it's okay that you're asking for the task, okay? Maybe next time just ask for the task before you go, rather than sending clock emojis. We've got two more pages. The summer table. Hey, is this seat taken? I looked up and a girl I never saw before was standing across from the table with a lunch tray full of food. She had long wavy brown hair and wore a brown t-shirt with a purple peace sign on it. No, I said. She put her lunch tray on the table, plopped her backpack on the floor and sat down across from me. She started to eat the mac and cheese on her plate. She said, after swallowing the first bite. I should have brought a sandwich like you did. Yeah, I said, nodding. My name is Summer, by the way. What's yours? August. Cool, she said. Summer. Another girl came over to the table carrying a tray. Why are you sitting here? Come back to the table. It was too crowded, Summer answered her. Come sit here, there's more room. The other girl looked confused for a second. I realized she'd been one of those girls I'd caught looking at me just a few minutes earlier, hand cupped over mouth, whispering. I guess Summer had been one of those girls at that table too. Never mind, said the girl, leaving. Oh, is that your favourite character, miss? Summer looked at me, shrugged, smiled, and took another bite of her mac and cheese. Hey, our names kind of match, she said as she chewed. I guess she could tell that I didn't know what she meant. Summer, August, she said, smiling, her eyes open wide as she waited for me to get it. Oh, yeah, I said after a second. We can make this the summer-only lunch table, she said. Only kids with summer names can sit here. Let's see. Is there anyone here named June or July? There's a Maya, I said. Technically, May is spring, Summer answered. But if she wanted to sit here, we could make an exception. She said, she said it was as if she'd actually thought the whole thing through. There's Julian. That's like the name Julia, which comes from July. I didn't say anything. There's a kid named Reed in my English class, I said. Yeah, I know, Reed. But how is Reed a summer name? I don't know, I shrugged. I just picture like a reed of grass being a summer thing. Yeah, okay, she nodded, pulling out her notebook. And Miss Potato could sit here, too. That kind of sounds like petal, which I think is a summer thing, too. I have her for homeroom, I said. I have her for maths, she answered, making a face. She started writing the list of names on the second to last page of her notebook. So, who else, she said. By the end of lunch, we had come up with a whole list of names of kids and teachers who could sit at our table if they wanted. Most of the names weren't actually summer names, but they were names that had some kind of connection to summer. I even found a way of making Jack Will's name work by pointing out that he could turn his name into a sentence about summer, like Jack will go to the beach, which Summer agreed worked fine. But if someone doesn't have a summer name and wants to sit with us, she said very seriously, we'll let them sit if they're nice, okay? Okay, I nodded. Even if it's a winter name. Cool beans, she answered, giving me a thumbs up. Summer looked like her name. She had a tan and her eyes were green like leaf. And that's where we're going to stop. Page 53. I love Summer. She seems so lovely already, okay? So I know that we've gone past time and we don't usually do that. So thank you to all the children who stayed and who were kind about us going over time. And actually, if we were doing virtual lessons, you'd be here for an hour. So you kind of would have to stay. Okay, so how amazing was that? I had planned to think of lots of emotion words to use in your diary entry, but I think I'm going to let you go, okay? Because you've done really well and you've stayed, and I'm loving the book and I'm loving how many of you are engaged. So your task is to write a diary entry as if you are August about your first day at school, okay? Any questions before you go and before I go? Have a lovely weekend, Miss Lockney. Thank you. Thank you for watching. No questions? Okay, superstars. Have a lovely weekend. Remember, stay home, stay safe, stay positive, spread kindness and gratitude. You are all so welcome. Thank you to those people who say thank you. Remember, gratitude is so important and you are so welcome. I do it with lots and lots of love, and I'm glad that you are enjoying our book. I will see you on Monday, and don't forget there is Spanish at 2 o'clock if anyone's joining us. I forgot to say in my Key Stage 1 story time, but I'm still doing Spanish at 2 o'clock. Lots of love. See you soon, everybody. See you Monday. You can do it. You can do the task today or over the weekend. It's up to you. You're welcome, everybody. Have a super weekend. If I don't see you in Spanish. Right, see you later, superstars.